Hi there, this is Craig Beck from StopDrinkingExpert.com, and welcome to perhaps what might be the most important decision you've ever made. I know that sounds dramatic, and I don't mean it to, but it is a very significant thing you've done, because most people who have this problem never do anything about it. And there's a variety of reasons why people don't take action. Firstly is they don't want to admit they have a problem, and so they look for the social proof to prove that they don't. They look around and they see everyone else drinking and they say, well, everyone else is doing the same thing, so I must be okay. Now, of course, there is no safety in numbers with alcohol. It's a bit like roulette. It doesn't matter how many times you spin the wheel, the odds remain the same. It doesn't matter how many other people are spinning the wheel, the odds remain the same. Now, the other reason people don't deal with this problem is down to the psychology of the human mind and the way that we are motivated to do anything in life. We are motivated by two things only. Firstly, to avoid pain, and secondly, to gain pleasure. But we will do much more to avoid pain than we will do to get to pleasure. This is why most diets fail, because we get started on the diet, we lose a little bit of weight, and we've moved away from the pain, but we're not prepared to go all the way to pleasure. Just as long as the pain stops, that'll do for us. And so that's why people avoid dealing with this issue, because while alcohol makes them miserable and they can see it destroying their life, and they're desperately unhappy with alcohol in their life, what they believe is they will be even more unhappy without alcohol in their life. And this keeps people trapped in the loop. Now, the problem with alcohol in society these days is that it is portrayed and marketed as a harmless social pleasantry. And everyone drinks. Chances are your parents drank and their parents drank and everyone in your family drinks and you've seen it everywhere, and everyone says it's harmless. The truth is a little different from that story. The truth is that this is the second most addictive substance on planet Earth, just behind heroin, and it kills, according to the World Health Organization, around 2.5 million people every year. 2.5 million. Now, can you imagine if we released a product today that killed 2.5 million people in the first year of its use? How long would it be on the shelf for? An hour? Half an hour? How long before I got sued for releasing this product? But alcohol's doing this every year. 2.5 million people around the year dead. And their families grieving for these people because this poison in a bottle that we've all agreed is harmless killed them. So congratulations on taking this step. You are here today, and I sincerely hope that this course will change your life. It has for thousands of people before you, including me, and it will for many other people, and I hope you're about to join them all. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Craig Beck, and I'd say for 2 decades of my life, I had a severe drinking problem. Now, you notice I don't use the word alcoholic, and that's because I don't like the word, and I'll explain more about this later on. But the word alcoholic implies that I'm broken. I'm a weak-willed, pathetic individual. It implies the same about you. And I know that's not true, because I know myself. I know I'm a very successful man. I know I'm very good at certain things. I know I excel in certain areas. And I know where my strengths and weaknesses are, but I am not weak-willed, I'm not pathetic, and I'm not a loser. But the label alcoholic would dictate that I am. And the problem with that is it points the finger of blame at the drinker and not at the drug. Now, to me, and the whole reason for this course is that getting addicted to alcohol is not the result of your weakness. It is the entirely logical conclusion of drinking a highly addictive substance. Is it not? If you drink something that is highly addictive for decades and you get addicted, does that not surely point to the conclusion you would expect? But instead of doing that, we go, you're an alcoholic, you're pathetic, you're weak-willed, oh, you poor person. It's crazy. It would be like me pouring itching powder into your underpants, you going crazy scratching, and me going, oh, what, you scratchaholic? Oh dear, you're a scratchaholic, you poor person. It's insane, and I refuse to accept the label alcoholic. So for 2 decades of my life, I drank, and I drank a lot. And we'll come on to my reasons for drinking a little bit later on, because I'd say for the first 10 years, I was happy drinking away. People knew me as someone who could handle their drink. You know, at parties, they would say, invite Craig, he can handle his drink. And I took that as a compliment. I was like, yeah, big man. Then for the second decade of my drinking career, I knew I had a problem. I knew that I was spending thousands and thousands on alcohol. I knew I was turning to it when life got tough. If I got a bill in the post that I wasn't expecting, whoa, bottle of whiskey. So I knew I had a problem, and I knew my drinking was out of control, and I knew that I was drinking much more than anyone else I knew. I would go, you know, if I went to a party, I would have to drink before I went, because I just couldn't be sure they would serve the drinks fast enough for me. I would always be the first to finish their drink. And so I was buying more rounds because I was trying to cover up for the fact that I was drinking so quickly by trying to push everyone else along to drink at the same speed as me. So I knew I had a problem. But for only 5 years of that decade did I actually start taking action. And of course, I didn't start with, I need to quit. I started with, I need to moderate. I need to control my drinking. Just need to slow down a little bit. You know, because I considered alcohol to be the best thing in my life. It was my treat, you know? The whole day was spent thinking about that drink I would have when I got home from work. And so I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to drink like everyone else. And we'll talk more about the crazy ways I try to moderate my drinking in a moment. But first, let me tell you a bit about what's happened to my life since I worked this out. Since I worked out how to escape the loop of alcohol addiction. How's it impacted my life? Well, the truth is it's affected every single area of my life to a huge degree. Everything has got better. My finances, my relationships, my health. I mean, my health was crazy bad. I was at the hospital once a month for pains in my abdomen. My blood pressure for about 10 years of my life was always borderline hypertension, always borderline high blood pressure. And the doctor was always just about to put me on medication for it. Within 2 months of stopping drinking, my blood pressure had not only reduced, it had come down to perfectly normal levels. This is me when I was a drinker. Much younger than I am today, always with a big pint in my hand. I lost 57 pounds when I stopped drinking, pretty much without even trying. This is me in my 20s, would you believe? I don't look like a man in his... I think I'm about 25 there. And I don't look like a man in his mid-20s, do I? I mean, I was tired all the time. I had no energy. I used to fall asleep into some sort of alcoholic coma by 8 p.m. I'd wake in the morning absolutely exhausted, despite the fact that I'd been in bed for like 10 hours. So everything has changed. And it's hard to convey to you just how much your life will improve, because I know you're afraid to give up drinking, because at the moment it feels like your go-to support system. You know, life gets stressful, alcohol's there. You need a bit of confidence, you feel a bit socially awkward at a party, alcohol is there to help. You can't get to sleep at night, alcohol will do that for you. I understand it's your kind of panacea for everything in life, and you're worried how you will cope with life without this. But this course is about revealing the wolf in the sheep's clothing. And what I'm here to tell you is alcohol has never been your friend. Alcohol is your worst enemy. The way I describe it is there's like an evil clown living inside your head. And when you look at him, he smiles and he makes you laugh. When you look away, he bares his teeth and he pulls out the knives. And we'll talk more about the evil clown a little bit later on. But let's just talk about that 5-year period when I was trying to moderate my drinking. Now, denial is a crazy thing, because there are kind of shades of grey when it comes to denial. First of all, we deny we even have a problem. And we say, I can stop anytime I like. Because people will question you on your drinking. They'll say, we're a little bit worried you seem to be drinking quite a lot. And we get very offended. We say, what are you talking about? And the same as everyone else, I could stop anytime I want. I just don't want to. And then eventually we realize that we should cut down a bit, and we try and stop, thinking it will be easy. And we're shocked. We can't believe it. We go a couple of days and we're desperate. We're craving a drink. Now we get worried. So now we think, oh, I better create some rules about my drinking because that'll work. And we say to ourselves things like, okay, look, everyone else is drinking, so how bad can it be? We look for the social proof to justify what we're doing. And then when we can't do that, we start coming up with these silly rules and we say things like, right, I'll only ever drink beer. I'm going to stay away from the wine because that's the stuff that really gets me. I'm going to drink beer. Yeah, right. Then we say, I'm only going to drink to be social. So I'm not going to drink in the house anymore. I'm only going to drink when I go out. And you find you go out every night of the week. Then you say things like, right, okay, I'm going to get serious about this now. No more spirits, no more whiskey, no more vodka. I'm only going to drink wine. I'm going to be a respectable, elegant wine drinker. Yeah, right. And then we say things like, okay, I'll only drink on special occasions. And it's amazing how many special occasions you find. What? It's the dog's birthday. You know what he'd like? Bottle of Merlot. We should get that dog a bottle of Merlot. We'll help him drink it. And we come up with all this nonsense to validate what we're doing. I'll tell you the craziest thing I did. I mean, this is embarrassing. I did so many things to try and deal with my drinking. I bought prescription drugs from India because nobody would prescribe them for me in the UK. So I just bought them from India. Very dangerous, didn't work. I tried silly things like, right, I'll drink a glass of water for every glass of alcohol. Of course, you don't stick to these things because they're just they're the actions of the ego, they're the actions of willpower. And willpower has no strength, has no power. So the craziest thing I did was I spent £400. What's that, about like $500, $600, something like that, on a time delay safe. I mean, the sort of thing that you have in a bank, right? I ordered it from a specialist safe manufacturer and it was delivered on this truck and they put it in my house. This is insane, isn't it? I can't even believe I'm telling you this. And I put it in my house and this was a time delay safe that would only open for 30 minutes a day. 6 p.m. I had it set to. It would open for 30 minutes. And here's my thinking, right? This is how much I thought about this. I thought, what I'd love to be able to do is just have one glass of wine and then put the bottle back in the fridge. Wouldn't that be beautiful? So I came up with this idea that if I couldn't get access to the bottle after I'd poured the first glass, then it wouldn't be a problem. So I took all my alcohol and I put it in this expensive safe and I locked it. And at 6 p.m. or 5 to 6, I would sit in front of that safe, just waiting. My kids would come up and talk to me. I'd be like, yeah. Not now. Come back in a minute. Not now. Come on. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Open the safe. And I would pour myself that beautiful glass of wine. And I would close the safe and lock it, knowing that it would not open again for another 24 hours. And I'd say for about 2 weeks, it worked. I had the glass of wine and, oh my God, I wanted another one. But I couldn't get access to the wine. And I thought, it's worked. Finally, I can drink in moderation. And then after about 2 weeks, my credit card bill arrived. And I'd forgot about the holiday, the vacation I'd put on my credit card because I decided we needed a break. We're all stressed. And I was way over my limits. And even the minimum payment was more than I could afford to pay. And I was so depressed. And I'd already had my one glass of wine for the evening. So you know what I did? I looked at the safe. I picked up my car keys and I drove to the shop and I bought a bottle of whiskey. And in that moment, that safe became a complete waste of money because it had no power. Sure, it kept the alcohol locked up, but it only worked to moderate my drinking if that was the only alcohol on the planet. And of course, it's not, it's everywhere. So I tried everything to moderate my drinking. So let me tell you, if you've tried it, I've probably tried it as well, and I can already tell you it doesn't work because moderation is hell. Because of the way the drug works. The drug will only give you one decision about your drinking. You can decide about the first drink only. All the other decisions after that point regarding your drinking will be made by the drug. So it doesn't matter what system you come up with. It doesn't matter what you say to yourself or what anyone else says to you. You cannot have just one drink, because that's the only decision you get, the first drink. All the other decisions are made by the evil clown. I'll tell you more about this later in the course. First of all, let's just deal with why you drink alcohol. Now, you might say, well, Craig, that's ridiculous. I drink because I like it. But that's too vague. We need to get specific about what you believe about alcohol. What is it giving you? Because let me tell you, you currently believe it gives you something important. If you didn't, you wouldn't drink. So if you're looking for something to give you a buzz and make you feel good, why don't you use heroin? Heroin's much more effective, much better drug for that. You feel amazing. So why don't you use the heroin? And the answer is because you don't believe adding heroin into your life would be a good thing. It would be a fundamentally bad thing. And there's no social proof around heroin to justify it. So you drink alcohol because you believe it gives you something, or many things. And this course works so well because it doesn't just point at you and say, you're broken, you're weak, oh my God. It explains to you why you're doing what you're doing. And it's a bit like going to see Penn and Teller, the illusionists in Vegas. And you watch their show and they do an amazing trick and you're blown away. You're like, how on earth did they do that? And then they come and they show you how they did it. Now, the second time you see the trick, it's not as amazing. You go, oh, I see, so there's a lever there and a trapdoor there. And okay, I get it now. But you no longer think it's magic. You no longer think that they have special powers. You understand. And that's how this course works. We take every one of your little beliefs about alcohol and I pull away the foundations from it. And eventually they just crumble and they fall. And what you end up with at the end of the course is a similar situation that you currently have about heroin. You don't have any beliefs to support the behavior. So what happens is you slowly find that you just no longer want to drink. It's not that you have to force yourself to avoid alcohol, because that's miserable. That's not freedom. That's misery for the rest of your life. That's why AA didn't work for me. Because A, I didn't want to be told I was broken and I would always be broken. And B, having to spend the rest of my life avoiding the thing I wanted most in the world sounded like hell on earth. It sounded like misery for the rest of my life. And what you find with my course is that when you no longer believe there is any benefit to alcohol, you just don't want it in your life. So let's take a look at the top 7 reasons that people drink. At number 7, we're going to start off here with a good one. Alcohol helps me get to sleep at night. I can't sleep without alcohol. You know, if I had $10 for every time someone had emailed me with that as an excuse, then I'd be a millionaire many times over. Alcohol doesn't help you get to sleep. Alcohol is an anesthetic. Well, it's a mild anesthetic. It's not a very good one, but it is an anesthetic. So what actually happens is you're being anesthetized. You're going into a slower rate of brain activity. And your brain activity slows down so much that you simply don't have enough processing power to do all the jobs that your body requires. Now, look, as I'm standing here now, if I raise my hand to my nose like that, that simple action requires the coordination of something like 57 different muscles, all at the same time. 57 muscles to do this, okay? Now, consciously, we couldn't do it because we can only do 1 or 2 things at a time consciously. I can prove it. Rub your belly and pat your head at the same time in the same coordinate. It's hard because the conscious mind is weak and small. Now, the subconscious mind is running in the background. It is infinite and it is very powerful and it does millions of things every second. As you're listening to me now, it is assessing the temperature of the air around you, the speed of your heart, the flow of the blood through your body. every single nerve ending. It is responding to the touch of the table that you're touching, or the chair, or the car, or whatever, wherever you are now. It is analyzing millions of pieces of data every second. It is beautiful. It is awe-inspiring. When you drink an anesthetic, or if you go to hospital and get given an anesthetic, the chemical interferes with the capability of your brain, and it slows it down. And eventually, it gets to the point that it has to make a decision. I've only got enough power to do a few things here. So I can keep him awake and stupid and drunk, or I can shut him down and just keep his heart going, keep his breathing going, and keep him alive. Guess which one it chooses. So it shuts you down. It says, okay, offline now. Can't be worried about you bumping into things and falling over. I've got to deal with beating your heart. So it shuts you down. Now, if you're using alcohol to get to sleep at night, the chances are you don't stay asleep. You'll probably wake up 3-4 hours later feeling terrible, feeling dehydrated, with a racing heartbeat. Does this sound familiar? Sometimes you feel like your heart's almost bouncing out of your chest. So the anesthetic has worn off now, or is starting to wear off. And what you're left with is the symptoms that the anesthetic was covering up. Remember, you've just been drinking poison for fun. And your body will respond to the ingestion of poison by doing several things. First of all, it will make you feel ill. To tell you you've done something wrong. To tell you you've just drank poison. It will give you some pain. And it will make you feel terrible, and you will be under no illusion what you've done. But the problem is, when you've had an anesthetic, your brain can't give you that message. So you feel quite happy. You feel all chilled out and mellow and relaxed, until the anesthetic wears off, and then you feel terrible. So this is not sleep. In the same way that nobody ever comes around from a general anesthetic and goes, oh wow, I feel so good, I feel so rested. It's not sleep. It's near brain death. And that is not something you really should be aspiring to do on a nightly basis. So, number 6 in our countdown of the reasons to drink. Drinking makes me more fun to be with. I get this, because especially for us Brits, we're a bit socially awkward at parties and things like that. And alcohol seems to help us relax a little bit. Now, there's a bit of inside-outside thinking going on here, because inside the bubble, when you're drinking, you think you're more fun. You think your stories are funnier. You think you're this and you think you're that. Now, just try being the sober person at a drunken party. And look at the people who think they're fun. Tell me, are they fun or are they idiots? I mean, they tell the same story over 5 times, and they laugh in the same place every time, and everyone else laughs in the same place every time. They stumble around. You see really intelligent people become the most simple of beings. And it's not anything that you should be aiming for in life, I don't think. You're not more fun, you're more stupid. And who wants to be more stupid? It's just, you're not going to get to the end of your life and look back and go, I wish I'd spent more time with less than my normal brain capacity. I wish I'd spent more time being an idiot in public. So it's not that it makes you more fun, it just makes you more simple. Life becomes, you become more like a primate, you know? People slipping on banana skins and falling over just becomes the most hilarious thing to you, because you haven't got the brain capacity to see the depth of the situation or to appreciate the nuances of life. You're not fully there. You're just a stupid zombie. And that is not something to aspire to. Number 5. I love this one. I love this one. I drink red wine because it's good for my heart. Had an email 2 days ago from a woman, said, I was going to join your online program, but one thing prevents me. It has been scientifically proven that red wine is good for you. So how do you defend against that, Mr. Stop Drinking expert? Oh, man. After I finished screaming at the wall for 5 minutes, I replied, okay, There is exactly the same health benefits in a glass of red grape juice as there is in a glass of red wine. Exactly the same. But nobody waxes lyrical about red grape juice. Nobody goes around saying, I enjoy a glass of red grape juice every day because it's good for my heart. Nobody says it. Why? Because it doesn't justify a drug addiction. Every single piece of research you can find me that says red wine is good for the heart will have, look in the small print, in the funding, will have an alcohol company behind it. You will, if you look into who funded the research, you will find a company connected to the alcohol manufacturing industry. Because here is the truth, and this has been proven by eminent scientists in Cambridge University recently as part of a 600,000 person piece of work, the most robust research I've ever seen. The alcohol in red wine completely obliterates any health benefit you get from the antioxidants in the grape skins. I'll say it again. The alcohol in red wine completely overrides any benefit you get from the antioxidants in wine. And what this research has showed is that if you drink 1 glass of wine a day, it will reduce your life by about 6 months. So even if you drink in super moderation, according to the research that says that red wine is good for your heart, even if you drink 1 pub measure of wine a day, it will still reduce your life. Now, I've worked this out for myself. When I was drinking, if you add up the spirits I drank at the weekend and the couple of bottles of wine a day I used to drink about 18 glasses of wine a day. I'm not talking about the huge glasses we pour for ourselves at home. I'm talking about pub measures. I used to drink about 18 glasses of wine a day. So work that out, how much my life has been and would have been reduced if I'd carried on at that level. Red wine is not good for your heart. It's an illusion. It's a PR spin propagated by the alcohol industry. If red wine was good for your heart, when you had a heart attack and you went to hospital, wouldn't they put you on Merlot? Wouldn't they go, Merlot, stat? But they don't, do they? They give you drugs. They don't give you red wine because it's nonsense. It's bullshit. Right, number 4, Dutch courage. Have you ever made a speech and thought, right, I need a stiff drink before I do this? Have you ever approached someone you're attracted to and thought, right, I need a drink before I do this? Dutch courage is an expression. It means to drink alcohol to create bravery. Let me just explain where the term Dutch courage comes from. There's a little bit of debate. There's several kind of origins of this phrase. One of them is that the English armies back in the day just assumed that all foreign armies were inferior to them. And so that's one explanation. But the other is that the Dutch soldiers were given a drink before they went into the battle. And this was, done around the world. In England, they used to give people rum. Before a battle, they'd liberally hand out free rum to everyone. And everyone would get drunk. Now, why would they do this? Well, it's easy. The infantrymen who went into battle back in those days were basically cannon fodder. They were just things for the cannonballs to hit. Now, you can wrap this up any way you want in patriotism or whatever you want to call it, but, it's a lot easier to get someone who's a bit stupid to run in towards a cannon than it is to get someone who's intelligent and goes, why would I want to do that exactly? So what they used to do is they used to get people drunk. Drunk people are stupid. So they get them drunk, fire them up with patriotism and say, off you go, boys, go running into that field. Don't worry about those cannons because you're so brave that those cannonballs will probably just bounce off you. And all the drunken idiots went, charge, and they died. So it's not that alcohol gives you courage. It doesn't. It interferes with your brain so that you can no longer make a valid risk assessment. Now, for the most part, our brain is a little bit overactive in this area because we've evolved so quickly that our brain is still looking for threats in every corner. We're still looking for saber-toothed tigers to jump out and pounce on us at a subconscious level. So when you go up on the stage in front of your work to make a speech, your subconscious is saying, oh, this is dangerous, there's danger, there's threat, and it makes you feel tense and anxious. So when you drink alcohol, it interferes with the part of your brain responsible for making sound decisions and making risk assessments. And this is why people get drunk and think that they can jump from one hotel balcony to the next. It's because they can't accurately assess the risk of what they're doing. So the illusion is bravery, that alcohol makes us brave. The reality is it makes us stupid and less capable as human beings.